Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. So where are you standing spiritually speaking? Do you go to a regular mainstream church or temple? Are you a member of a witches coven? Are you a member of some, shall we say, different alignment or different orientation of people? A different group. Do you gather with people for your spiritual or for your brotherhood? Doesn't matter, in all fairness, who you're turning to or what you call your higher power. Okay, I only focus on three laws. Okay, I don't pick on any given religion because, quite frankly, much as I was raised Christian, there are things I've seen Christians do that I'm looking at going, you call yourself Christian and yet you behave like that. The reality of it is this: I do not fear any higher power by any name. Okay. I mean, am I looking forward to dying? I've done that already. Don't need to do it again. It's not a question of looking forward to dying. Dying is easy. Everybody can do it. Living well is the real trick. Now, whatever you want to call your higher power, call it what you will. If you want to go to a church, if you desire to go to a temple, if that's how you get your spiritual sustenance, your feeling of brotherhood, your feeling of belonging, carry on. I'm not talking about walking away from any of it. The only time I talk about that is this: if you're following anybody, any color, any orientation, any spiritual background, if you're following somebody that says money is the root of all evil, give me all your money and we'll make sure it goes where it needs to, so we'll take that evil away from you. I have come to lead you down a path to a better place. Give me all of your belongings. Okay. If they're doing that, they're missing something incredibly important. Okay. Now, money does not make anybody evil. Money is simply put, money is a method of barter. And I'll tell you from practical experience, it's easier to move a $10 bill than it is to move a cow. Okay, I've tried moving a cow before. It didn't work well, especially considering the fact I was afraid of them growing up. Whatever your spiritual belief, I only follow three laws. Be true to yourself, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, and energy out, energy in. Now, if you look at the commandments or the guidelines of whatever religion you're following, whatever spiritual teaching you're following, whatever nationality you are, take a look at the teachings you're given to govern your life and ask yourself one thing: be true to yourself, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, energy out, energy in. When you look at your guidelines for life, do they fit in those three? If they don't fit in those three, I would love to hear about them because I don't know of them. Okay, every one of the religions I've looked at, Christianity, Muslim, Hindu, Cree, satanic worship, the witches' covens, a lot of the New Age belief structures. Okay, all of them fall into the same thing. Every guideline I've looked at says the same thing. Those three laws apply to all of it. Okay, now there is a fourth one I do strongly recommend, but it falls realistically under the second one. And that is, you must follow the laws of the land in which you are. Okay, meaning you don't have to agree with the laws. Like, for instance, for my own reasons, I don't personally agree with the seatbelt law. That said, I will not drive my car without wearing my seatbelt. Okay, the law says if I'm going to drive, wear your seatbelt. So I do. Okay, I absolutely, if a cop were to ask me if I believe in the seatbelt law, or if a judge were to say, do you believe in the seatbelt law? I will absolutely tell them, no, I don't. However, will I follow the law and wear my seatbelt? Always. Okay, I have made the occasional mistake where I forgot to, but, I'm not perfect. So, take a look at that and follow one little idea. If you treat people the way you desire to be treated, regardless of who they are, you desire to be treated nice, be nice. You desire people to be honest with you, be honest with them. Now, I will tell you this. The idea of being politically correct or saying things in such a nice way that it doesn't hurt people's feelings, I gave up trying to. Because I have found, I remember one day, I was trying to be, because I've been in the consulting industry now for 45 years, well, in all fairness, 47 going on 48. I've dealt with a lot of issues, personal and business-wise. But there was one particular type of issue that I dealt with that told me, doesn't matter what I try, there is no way I'm going to make sure everybody's content. The situation arose when I had somebody come to me, and all they said was, I have a very important question. I need an answer. I never thought, she says, I've got a very important deadline coming up. I need to know how much time I've got. I don't know. How much time? I didn't even think about it. I went, 2 months. Right. Well, she burst into tears and collapsed into the chair. And then as she composed herself, she goes, my husband's dying. We know he's dying. I just needed to know how much time we had to get things in order. Now, quite frankly, I felt terrible. It's like I told her, I would have loved to have put it to her in a better way, and I was really apologetic about the fact that it came out that blunt. But less than a week later, okay, like she was okay with it. She said, no, it's okay. I need to, I've got to get things in order. I had to know how much time, and the doctors couldn't tell me. So that was fine. She was okay with it, in a manner of speaking. I mean, how okay can you be when your husband's dying? However, less than a week later, I had the same situation come up. I could see it just as clearly. And the woman, I didn't want to do what I did to the last one, so I'm batting around trying to look for a way to tell her what I had to tell her. And I finally gave up and I said, look, ma'am, I don't know of a nice way to put this. I've been trying to figure out how to say this nicely because it's just not good. And she looks at me and goes, what? I says, ma'am, your husband is dying. And I kid you not a word of a lie, this woman all of a sudden jumps up and she goes, yes! Well, how do you gauge who is going to react like that? I mean, really, in my eyes, who in their right mind reacts like that? You're married to the guy and he's dying and you give that kind of a reaction? What kind of a life did she have that she would be so ecstatic that her husband was dying? So I came to the conclusion, trying to word things in a way that was going to make people accepting of it, or try to make them comfortable with what I was saying, I gave up on. I went, scrap it, it ain't going to happen. So I'm just going to deal with the reality of, I'll say what comes out, and as the saying goes, devil take the hindmost. If what I tell people makes them happy, this is a bonus. If it doesn't, it's expected. But the one thing I will not do is, I get a lot of people coming up to me trying to talk to me as they are trained to do, trying to convert me, trying to get me to follow their religious belief. My first question when they ask if I believe in God is, absolutely I do. Probably more so than many of you. However, my counterpoint is I'll look at them and go, do you fear God? And most of the time they look at me and go, absolutely, but I still follow him. Well, right there we have a problem because I do not fear God. I do not fear the spiritual world, period. Do I fear people? Probably. Okay, I've got some really bizarre reactions on occasion, but the reality of it is this. I'm not looking to get into trouble. I'm not looking to get robbed. I'm not looking to die. But I'm not going to worry about whether a spiritual entity that is so far evolved beyond us. I don't fear him. I do not worship a god, because the reality is a true god does not require worshippers. Let's face it, gods create planets. They don't have people to worship them when they create the planet. They're doing it without the worship. Now, if you desire to worship, be my guest. Okay, I'm not looking down on you. I just don't do it. Okay, now I can quote all kinds of scriptures to tell you that bear witness to the idea, scriptures in the Christian belief, because frankly, I was raised in a Christian church. Okay, but there are things they miss. Okay, from what I gather, from what I've seen of the way that Christians behave on the whole, and I'm talking on the whole, people, you got to understand, there are invariably exceptions. In amongst the most heinous people on the planet, whoever you think they are, there are nice people. You know, I dealt like people down in the States, many of you know of a group of two groups, of gangs by the name of the Bloods and the Crips. Apparently they're an extremely violent group. Not my cup of tea. But I met one member of the Crips years ago, and he wanted out, but he didn't want to die in the process. So I worked with him and gave him a little bit of guidance. Okay, we found a way that he could extricate himself from the life and get on with life and carry on. Well, a year or so after I talked to him, he got back in touch with me and gave me an update. His life had gone from an absolute war zone in his eyes. In my eyes, he was just another person trying to extricate himself from a complication. Now, I do not save everybody. Okay. I don't save anybody, in all fairness. All I do is give people shall we say, an uninvolved look. I'm not caught up in the emotional situation people go through. Okay. But I will tell you this. I've watched different religious groups where a leader has come forth and said, I am so and so returned. I've come to lead you to a better life. So I put my compound way up in the middle of nowhere, encased it in fences, and we all have guns. But we're here to bring you to a life of peace. I'll tell you, guns do not bring peace. Heavy firepower brings quiet. That is not peace. And rest assured, somebody always has a bigger gun. Okay, there is always, always, always somebody bigger. Now, we're going to cover that neat little trick right now. See, some of you are going to tell me God is the top of the totem pole. Well, you're going to love this one because, no, you're not. You're going to absolutely discuss this one. I have no doubt that God created the world in which we are and what you're seeing, the whole 9 yards. Much of it, anyway. But when I had a conversation with him a decade ago, okay, actually it was more recent than that. Just last year, I think, I had my latest one, and even he told me, okay, I am not the top. As far as you're concerned, I'm the top, but there are others beyond me. Okay, now where I got that idea, I got it way before I really settled into my religious beliefs at all. But I will tell you this. I don't fear anybody with that much power. Because let's face it, a god, number one, they don't require worshippers. The fear doesn't bother them. They've already evolved beyond it. Let me ask you this. Do you fear or do you worry about whether an ant fears you? And I'm talking that little six-legged thingy, tiny wee little guy. Sugar ants, even the big ones, carpenter ants. Do you worry about whether you upset them when you end up poisoning them or killing them? Okay. Lord knows I didn't worry about it when I was a kid. And we did some pretty messed up things. Okay. But we didn't worry about the feelings of the ants. As I got older, I definitely started worrying more to the point, paying more attention to the way the animals and the plants were feeling. Now, if I had total communication skills with them, I would never get lost a day in my life. But right now, I can get lost in a city. I've been living in the same city for 35 years, and I can still get lost in it like that. Okay, now you'd think I'd be better off at 58 years old. I was told by somebody in the park the other day, I need to do something about my sense of direction, so I can get out and see more of the world. Well, it's a cute thought. He was getting really irate that I told him flat out it wasn't going to happen. Right. Number one, I do not like stress, and going to places that stress me out. In other words, going out into the middle of nowhere. I believe wholeheartedly in God. I talk to him the whole 9 yards. Now, in my case, I refer to him as Father. Okay, Father, Source, periodically the Prime Originator. Whatever name you refer to him as, that's your business. Doesn't matter. Okay, what does matter is whether you treat the people around you decently. When you treat people the way you desire to be treated, that's when you can say you're following a decent spiritual path. If you're going, I'm on a spiritual path, and because you're not on it, you're not worthy, then you missed the boat, not the person you're talking to. You're the one that missed the boat. If you're telling people, I'm Christian, therefore, and you're not, therefore, you're wrong, you missed the boat. Okay, every one of the primary religions, of the mainstream religions, and many of the, so to speak, fringe religions, understand something critical here. Every religion was fringe at one point. Even your big mainstream ones were fringe religions to start with. So they are no worse, they are no better. Nobody is. You're all just as good as the next person. Some people are better at certain skills, some people are worse at certain skills. I'm not the best public speaker, I'm not the worst. Okay, but Lord knows I make my mistakes. Okay, primarily because I'm not perfect. That and the fact that I don't care to stress myself out over whether or not I say everything right. Which is why I decided right from the get-go I am not editing my videos. Okay. What I do is I figure if I get a thumbs up from people, then I did something correctly. In their eyes, not in mine. If I get the video out on the day, like for instance, today is Sunday, so I turn to the spiritual side of things. Okay. And that's just because I had to pick a day of the week. Okay, whether your special day is on a Saturday, is on a Tuesday, is on a Friday, who cares? Again, as long as you pick a day that ends in the word day, and I'm speaking in English, I don't know what the words are in all the other languages. The important factor is pick a day where you take a break, okay, where you enjoy the family, where you get reconnected. Okay, in today's world, it is very strongly recommended, in my eyes, take the phones, put them away. Okay, talk as in put the phone down, sit down with your kids, with your family, with your partner, talk to them about what you are doing. Okay, this idea of, oh, let's all sit at the dining room table and we'll do this. Ever see this? You sit at the dining room table, or you go to a restaurant with your friends. You got friends. You're sitting there having dinner, having coffee, having drinks, and three of your friends are sitting there going like this while you're sitting across the table. Now, the worst one I ever saw, personally, was four people sitting at the same table, all texting each other. Now, you want spiritual guidance? Here's the idea. Take your electronics once a day. Put your electronics down. Sit down for one meal at the same table. Breakfast, lunch, supper, doesn't matter. Okay, pick one meal of the day and do your best to sit down. with the people in the house and have a meal together. See what you're going through. Talk to each other. This idea of sit down in your own quiet place. I gotta go find quiet time to pray. That's a great idea. But do not forget about the people in the house. You want your brotherhood, you want to go to your church, to your temple, to your coven, go to it. But don't forget about the family. Okay. Spiritual guidance is not a question of believe in this higher power, pray to him, he'll give you everything, because that ain't the way it works. There is a saying in the Christian religion that says, God helps those that help themselves. And I'll tell you, he wasn't talking about thieves. He will point you in directions. He will give you the inclination, he will guide you if you listen. Your spiritual guide, be it God, be it Allah, be it whatever, be it Gaia, okay, it doesn't matter what you call it. If you're talking to the spirits, if your spirit guides are telling you, are guiding you, they guide you to where you can get physical help. Because I'll tell you, it's a really wonderful thing. Okay, you go down, you go along, and you end up on the top of the staircase, and you trip and stumble. You're starting to fall down the stairs. Now, you can pray all the way to the floor, and the odds are very good you're going to hurt when you get to the bottom. Okay. Now, the neat part about it, just a short little point here. Well, parable, I guess. Young lady, there was a lady. Okay, she was living on her own out in the rural area. Okay, she was away from the cities, but she was living out in the rural areas. There was a flood, massive flood coming. Well, there was a warning coming, and all of her neighbors heard it. There was a warning. This flood was coming. Get to higher ground. Right. And of course, all the friends were getting ready to leave, and this woman, she goes, I'm not going. God will protect me. My spiritual guide, my God, will save me. Okay. So everything, the water kept rising. Somebody come along in a 4x. Come on, ma'am. Come on. Let's go. Get in the car. I'll drive you home. I'll drive you to dry ground. God will take care of me. You go on. I'll be fine. Well, the water kept rising. Got up to her porch. Now she can't drive out because her car's underwater. Guy in a powerboat comes along. Right, he says, come on, we're going to high ground. We've just made the last pass. Get in the boat. We'll take you to high ground. God will protect me. My spiritual guide will take care of me. He's the one I've asked him for help. He's going to save me. Right. So the water keeps rising and she climbs up on the roof. Helicopter comes along. Come on, ma'am, let's get you to high ground. The water's, it's not receding anytime soon. Let's get you to high ground. Oh, no, my spiritual guide will protect me. Go on, I'll be fine. So the helicopter flies off. The woman drowns. She ends up at the pearly gates. Okay, she ends up right face to face with her spiritual guide, and she goes, God, why didn't you protect me? He looks at her and goes, why didn't I protect you? Yeah, you said you would save me. And he goes, I sent you people to warn you the flood water was coming. I sent you a truck. I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. What more did you want? God helps those that help themselves. Your spiritual guide will guide you, will bring people to you that can help, will point out when you're in situations that are not tenable to your wellness. But if you don't turn to the people around you to get the assistance, Lord knows, if I hadn't turned to the people around me to get assistance, to get my finances, sometimes against my will, okay, in other words, they were doing things I did not agree with, wholeheartedly did not agree with. Okay, if I had not turned to them and got their help, I would not be debt-free today, in spite of the fact that I ended up with a massive inheritance. Well, I considered it massive. It really wasn't that big, but it was enough to get me debt-free and set me up so I'm on the right track to being healthy, and being secure as I retire. And let's face it, according to modern standards in Canada, I've only got 7 years before I hit that point where people start going, you should look at retiring. Well, I've looked at retiring. My father looked at retiring. He retired 4 times before he passed. And I figure at this point, I retire every time I go to bed. I retire for the day. And that's pretty much where my retiring is going to go. But from a spiritual standpoint, doesn't matter who you call it, doesn't matter who you pray to. Treat everybody with respect. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Okay, to the people, the very important thing here is this. If you have a surplus, if you have an ability, and helping people will not, helping individuals will not harm you, will not put you in a bad point. No point in swapping positions. Okay, um, but if you've got a surplus, if you've got a little bit of time to help somebody, do so. Never know when that help may be required. Okay. If you treat people nicely, I went to the store the other day. I got a little carried away with what I bought, in my opinion. However, I've reached the end of what I'm buying, and that's the way that was. But the store clerk did not have to do what he did. He brought my stuff out to the car for me. Didn't ask, well, he asked if he could do it for me, but I didn't have to ask him to do so. But it's because I treat the people decently that I get decent treatment. Okay, if I was going into the store, it doesn't matter how much money you put down. If you're treating people like garbage, they're not going to be nice to you. And all the money in the world is not going to protect you from them. Okay. Now, I do keep these down to a half-hour run. So, with that in mind, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel so you can see the rest of the videos. If you desire to contact me, there's a list of contact points at the bottom of this video. Reach out to me if you've got questions, ask. And I will be back again next week on this topic. Okay, next Sunday. But until we meet again, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.